Hi everyone, I'm happy to present my final presentation for this whirlwind class. So I'm going to be spending the next 6 minutes and 40 seconds talking about serendipity. We've all heard the word before, but what exactly does serendipity even mean? Serendipity is the act of finding something that you didn't intend to find at the outset. So these events can happen as a result of an experiment or of a little browsing at the library or on the internet, or even upon taking a photo and then realizing after the fact that there's a funny image in the background. Serendipitous events can happen in social situations. So this was the basis for the 2001 John Cusack movie, where John Cusack meets Kate Beckinsale, and they fall in love, but then they decide for whatever movie reason to separate and see if fate brings them back together. Of course it does. They live happily ever after, etc. But it can also happen in a scientific setting. A number of scientific findings can be credited to accidental discoveries. Just a few examples of these include Hoffman's discovery of LSD, Fleming's discovery of penicillin, and Lowy's discovery of nerve communications. So let's talk about Lowy for a second here. He used still beating frog hearts to determine that both electrical and chemical stimulants affected the hearts. But what's more interesting is how he thought of the idea to try this experiment, and that was that he had a dream. People say this all the time. It came to me in a dream. But is there really any truth to that statement? How can sleep, a time when we aren't necessarily consciously aware of anything, inspire us to try a new experiment or to take some kind of leap of faith? Well, the foundation has to be there. We must have an idea already germinating or in the background of our thoughts for this to happen. But when we're asleep, we're removed from outside stimuli, from the stresses of life and work, and have the opportunity to actually make connections and think more deeply about ideas. In the deepest stages of sleep, we dream. When we dream, we're consciously aware. We have perception, we have emotion, we have the ability to remember things. Our brains are now in the perfect state for a serendipitous event to occur, and sometimes they lead to scientific discoveries, as was the case with Lowy. But what about when we're awake? Can we somehow create the ideal environment to encourage serendipitous events? Serendipity is all about accidental discoveries, so the idea of encouraging it seems fruitless and borderline impossible. But maybe not. Just as sleep removes outside stress and stimuli, a walk in the park or a stroll on the beach, any time away from your computer or desk can foster serendipity through idea connections, idea expansions, or new thoughts. In the same way, you can encourage serendipity for your students. Allow students to sleep on ideas and take time for ideas to sink in and take shape. Take your class outside for a lesson. Encourage constant brainstorming on a class blog or wiki page. Have your students carry a notebook with them so that they can jot down ideas that come to them outside of the classroom. Ask questions and wait for answers. Increasing wait time can lead to better thought out responses and improve overall student achievement. Research shows that asking higher cognitive questions that require students to manipulate information and create or support an answer will provide higher cognitive responses. Allowing students to think about their responses encourages participation and more student interaction. So try waiting a little longer next time. Afford students the opportunity to recall previous concepts and ideas and make connections between those and the current concepts that you're teaching. Encourage discussion so that students can build on ideas with their peers to come up with a more comprehensive idea. And don't forget to encourage your students to read. Reading a multitude of texts can stimulate serendipitous events. The more they read, the more opportunities arise for idea connection and new thoughts. Reading on the side or on the fringe of work life is not nearly as effective as taking a reading vacation. Bill Gates collects texts he finds interesting and brings them on a reading vacation. He steps away from life with his reading material and dedicates all of his time to connecting ideas he reads in that material. It's much easier to remember what you read in a condensed period of time. Let's face it, not everyone is getting their information from books anymore. The internet is the main source of information for lots of people, and most know exactly what they're looking for when they log on. We search for specific keywords on specific websites, so has the opportunity for serendipity through browsing been completely lost? Definitely not. The internet is filled with hyperlinks that can take us gallivanting all over it, from apple pie recipes to pesticides to bizarre foodborne illnesses, and then back again to apple picking season. We have the luxury of accessing all of this information about all of these subjects without even leaving the couch. Someone has even gone so far as to create StumbleUpon.com, a search engine that assesses user interests and then directs that user to websites, blogs, and wikis based on those interests. Some websites are in foreign languages, some are ones that the user frequently visits, and some are in the deepest, darkest corners of the internet. So, is the internet really stomping out serendipity? Frankly, the opposite. Perhaps the real secret to creating an environment that welcomes serendipitous events is simply a little time spent in the park with a computer and a wireless connection. And after that, some good solid sleep.